Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's Dylan here from First Frontier AI. Now, a little while ago, I shared a BBC article on my LinkedIn feed. By the way, if we're not connected, there's a link down in the description, so feel free to click on that and link with me. But the article was about a chip shop owner who, facing rising costs and staff shortages, built an AI to take phone orders. And when I first saw that, I thought, well, I've got to tell everybody about this because this is just such a great application. It is what I'm always talking about, or at least I hope I am, which is using AI to solve real world problems, right? For small businesses, for people, just in general. Now, if you're from outside the UK and you're wondering what is a fish and chip shop, although from the description or the title you can probably imagine, well, have a think of your favourite local takeaway spot, okay? It's the one that's been there for years, probably run by the same family. It's not fancy, but it's the absolute go-to for comfort food. And that is a chippy, as we would call it, and it is the British equivalent, I think, to the sort of classic American diner or your neighbourhood taco stand. So it's very much a cornerstone of many a community. And they sell a very simple, glorious menu, which is, well, every time, battered fish, lots of thick cut fries, we call them chips of course, and then they normally do things like pies, sausages, lots of things like curry sauce, mushy peas, gravy to go with it. It is very much a national institution. Right, armed with that bit of background, let's crack on and build our own. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to create one of these in Voiceflow. Now, Voiceflow is my go-to. There are lots of others. BotPress is another one. I prefer Voiceflow just because I know it quite well, and you can very easily create something like this without any code whatsoever, or minimal code anyway, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to toddle off and find a suitable menu, and then we're going to crack on and start making this bot for ourselves. So here we are in Voiceflow. I'm going to come up here to projects. I'm going to say new project, and I'm going to call it Chippy AI. Now at this stage, I could describe what I want it to do, and it will do actually quite a reasonable job of sort of fleshing something out, but I'm going to click on Start from Scratch just so we have a better understanding of how this all fits together. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here into my knowledge base. I'm going to add my data source, and I'm going to upload the file, the text version of the menu that we created. Now, the sharp-sighted amongst you will notice that I actually called it menu.md markdown. Voiceflow won't take a .md file, but it's quite happy with a txt file. I just renamed it. Absolutely no difference whatsoever. As far as it's concerned, it won't affect the knowledge. Import that. Chunking strategy, I'm going to leave on smart chunking, I think. Chunking is just about how it chops up the document. I think that should be fine. So I'm going to go with import. It's going to have a think about that. I can leave that cooking. I don't need to wait for it to finish. So I've got my start node here. So this is sort of like where the user's going to come in when they call. And it's going through to an agent here. So this is what Voiceflow calls an agent. Here we go. Here's Markdown again, right? Just as it happens. And an agent is, you can kind of think of it as, like you can see here, we can give it a prompt, we can give it a whole script if we wanted to, and it can come out with certain exit conditions. And these are actually quite useful to sort of chain together, as we'll see in a moment. So I'm going to get rid of this one for now, and I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to bring this here, I'm going to connect it up, and I am going to call this the greeting agent. Create a new one. Up here, greeting agent. And I am going to give it an objective of greet the user and ask for their name. Okay. Make sure you get both first and last names. Okay. And that's it. Well, I'm just going to have two exit conditions here. User's given name. exit when the user has provided and confirmed their name. And what I'm going to do down here is, oops, I'm going to create a variable. All right, I'm going to call it user's name, full name of the user. I'm going to do this, and it's going to populate that automatically once we've confirmed the name. Now, so greet the user and ask for their name. Make sure you get both first and last names. I'm going to put a bullet point in there, and then it says, once they have given you their first and last names, confirm that you heard it correctly. If so, trigger the user has given name exit condition. So you can see I'm just literally describing this like I might do to like an actual human, right? I think we'll leave that as it is for now. So I'm going to leave that as it is. User is given name. We could add another one here where the user refuses to give their name or something along those lines, in which case we'll just politely say, well, look, sorry, you can't carry on with your order. But for that, I think we'll leave it like that. If I click on run here, it's just going to bring up this box here, and it's going to allow me to chat, as in via text, right, to my agent. Okay, so I can say, yes, my name is Dylan. Oops, I can't even spell my own name. Dylan Humphreys. Okay, so I can put that in, and I can kind of emulate more or less, you know, how it would work. Nice to meet you, Dylan Humphreys. Just confirm I heard you correctly. Your name is Dylan Humphreys. Is that right? So we can see it's following our instructions, and I can say yes, and then what it will do, it'll just stop now because oh, there we go. Yeah, so it like if we had another node coming off here, it would carry on, but because we don't, it's just stopped, which is correct. Now that's all well and good, but actually what we really want to do is get it to call us and actually hear this, okay, so that we can hear it, that it's being generated and it's generating the appropriate audio, and we can hear how it interacts, and of course how it then decodes our speech, how well it understands us. Okay, so you can do that by clicking here, clicking on call. Obviously I'm in the UK, so I'm selecting 44, and then I can put in my number in here and then click on send call. It will then immediately call me on my mobile, okay, and I can pick it up and it's as if I've called it. So that's the flow I'm going to use to get this to some kind of stage that we can then start taking orders. Okay, so what I've done now is I have added another exit scenario to our greeting agent. Essentially this one down here. So either the user gives us a name or the user will not give us a name. I know that sounds a bit daft. Why would somebody call up, not give their name? But what I tend to find is that you really need to account for all these even unlikely situations which could occur. So we just make sure that the AI order taker will have a path to some kind of action, even if for whatever reason the user decides not to give us a name. So this is just coming down here. The agent will say, sorry, we couldn't get your name. This is needed to take your order. And it just invites them to either email or visit chippy.com, which is what I'm imagining this Chippy's website is called. So we've got that ticked off there. Anything that doesn't have something else that kind of happens over here, so the fact that that is empty means that the call will just hang up at that point. And we've got the same situation here, which is obviously not what we want to do. So we want to build out this branch now. So I'm going to come along here. I'm going to go agent. We've only got the greeting agent now, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to call this the order taker agent. There we go. Takes orders based on the menu. Okay, so we've got that. The instructions, I've already got a prompt for this. I'm just going to paste it in, but I'll talk you through it. This is how I tend to lay my prompts out. Again, we're using Markdown, so I have an objective, and I basically say to it, look, these are the two sort of exit scenarios, if you like, the exit conditions that we're going to deal with. Either they get the items that the customer wishes to order, okay, and we listen to the user once they've ordered, read the order back to them, or the other outcome is going to be something along the lines of, we couldn't figure out what the order should be, and therefore we're just going to give up. I give it a script, so it's going to say, welcome first name to our chippy, what would you like to order? It's going to know the name because I have included the user's name here in the information section, so it's going to be able to look it up from that. Another thing worthwhile noting as well is that every agent, so every one of these boxes that we see here, okay, it is always primed with the conversation so far. So that is automatically injected by Voiceflow. So in theory, it might make this here a little bit redundant, but this very much sort of scopes it, makes it clear that that's the information I'm referring to. So if there's any pertinent information that it needs, my inclination is to put it under here, under information, and basically say, look, this is the information you want. Look in there for anything that you may need in order to get your objectives done. So I'm just going to make that a little bit more descriptive. So I'm going to say order taker. Okay. And what we need here now is we need some exit conditions. So I'm going to say order taken and confirmed. Okay, exit when user has given their order and it has been confirmed. Okay. And what I may do with this in a bit is add a variable to hold the order. I think that's probably a good idea, actually. I'm going to have another one here. Order could not be established. Exit when not be established, or the user is getting visibly frustrated. How can you get visibly frustrated on a telephone call? Not entirely sure. You get the idea. Right. Either way, we've got our two exit scenarios there. Now, one key bit of information here is that you'll notice for knowledge base, I've got that toggled on. I think actually that it's toggled on for the first one as well, which arguably it doesn't need to be. But what this means is that it can search the menu that we uploaded for relevant information, which obviously, if it's taking orders, the menu is very much relevant. So we're going to take it as far as that, I think. And I think what we're going to do is, just as a little bit of a debug step, I'm going to have, oh, you know what, I'm just going to put thank you for your order for now. And we're just going to test that out and make sure that we can give it an order and it'll do the things that we're asking it to do. So as before, Dylan Humphreys. Yes, that's correct. So we're through to the order taker agent. It's like, what would you like to order today? I would like fish and chips, please. Okay, and sure enough, it's picked up that we have a small fish and chips available for £3.80, which is in the menu, and it comes with sauce. Would you like small fish and chips, or would you prefer to see other options? What type of sauce would you like with it? Let's say, what sauces do you have? Okay, so it's got gravy, curry sauce, or baked beans. I think we're going to go with gravy. Food of kings, right? Okay, so it tells me that, it tells me the price. Is that correct? Would you like to add anything else? Well, we'll say yes, that's correct for now. And what we should get now is a thank you for your order message. We do indeed. Right, so we know that's triggering correctly. So that's good news. All right. So I have added sort of like another exit scenario here. Order could not be established. Okay, so as it's defined in here, it's just going to see if it can detect when the user is becoming a little bit agitated. You know, we've all been here, right, with automated calling services. So So we've got that. Now, the one thing we do ideally need to do here is to actually save the customer's order, the confirmed order, to a variable. So the way I'm going to do that is with these exit scenarios, we can come down here to required variables. Okay, so this will only exit, it will only use this exit condition provided this variable can be populated based on the interactions with the agent. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm going to call it user's order. Now this is going to be fairly crude. It's just going to be a string. It's just going to hold a collection of text, which is going to represent what the customer asked for. Like I say, it's pretty crude. We could make it a bit more sophisticated, maybe with quantities and descriptions or SKUs even, but this should do us for now. Description of the user's order. I'm not going to have a default value. I'm just going to do that. Okay. Another thing I'm going to put in here, use knowledge base to see what menus are available, listen to the user. Once the user is ordered, read the order back and confirm it's correct. Once they confirm it's correct, populate the user's order variable and trigger the order taken and confirmed exit scenario. That's partially for the model, but it's also for any human reading this as well. I think it codifies it, makes things very clear, kind of self-documenting. All right, and now what we're going to do over here is say, thank you for your order. This is your order. So I'm just going to check that that variable assignment is working as expected. Now, if you're in this kind of iteration loop where you're trying to make sure that you're testing regularly, you're trying to make sure things are testing correctly, you're trying to make sure that what you've done gives you the correct result, it can get pretty onerous to go through each step, okay? And certainly for this one here, like getting the name, I don't really need to test it. I know it works. So what I'm going to do, just as a temporary measure, I'm going to get rid of that there. I'm going to bring this up here, and I'm going to drag that in there. And what that's going to mean is just going to miss out that first agent. We know that works, don't need to test it repeatedly. If it was vital to the flow, okay, in terms of the bit that we were testing, obviously I would not have bypassed it. But for this particular occasion, we just want to make sure that we can place an order and that it's going to populate it in the user's order variable. So I'm just going to hit run there. I'm going to say, I'd like fish and chips with gravy, please. Okay. And it says, perfect, that's one small fish and chips. Yes, that's correct. Right, now we should get, there we go. So you can see there, thank you for your order. This is your order. This is exactly what we've got down here. One small fish and chips with sauce and one gravy, total £4.80. When we ran that the first time, I feel like it was going to give us the gravy for free. Okay, well, that's something we'll need to address in the coming few minutes. So let's see what we can do with that. But for now, that shows that we are definitely populating the user's order variable, and we can crack on from there. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to get the agent to confirm the user's telephone number. And the reason we're going to do that is obvious. Okay, we're taking an order over the phone. You know, if there's a problem, we can call them back. We might even be able to use it to identify the person when they come in to collect the order. So there is a way of doing that, and we're going to do that now. We're going to sort of add another agent in this here. So I'm going to get rid of this link. So that's kind of like our block that we get the agent to actually output what the user's ordered. And what we want in here is an agent which will confirm the user's number, but we're going to try and get it from caller ID as well. So we're going to need two different things for this. The first thing I've done, if I go here into variables, is I have set up a caller ID variable, okay, and I've just set it to some random UK mobile number, all right? That is really just so that I can test it, all right? Because as we spoke about earlier, we haven't got this hooked up to an actual telephone line yet, so there will be no caller ID. So we just need to give it a default value so that we can test it out. All right, so we've got that variable, so I'm going to go back to the workflow here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it do this kind of silently at the beginning of the call. I'm just going to drag in some JavaScript here. What I've done, I'm going to explain this code, bear with me. So this code here is essentially some JavaScript, and it does a couple of things. So first of all, it goes off and it figures out the current date, okay? And that's just useful to have in our prompts anyway, okay? And we can include that in the information section of our agent prompts. The current time, again, that's also useful so that we can log that against whatever order comes in. But it also checks here, check if last event payload user number exists. If we have called our bot, it will exist. If we have just clicked on run up here and run it and talk to it using text, it will not exist. Okay, so essentially what that says is, look, if we have a caller ID available to us, then make it caller ID. If it's not available to us, then just do nothing. Okay, so it's going to run that silently before it starts greeting us. And it runs that quick that we're not even going to notice that it's run. Okay, but the point is that those variables are now sort of initialized, confirmed, whatever you want to call it. I will pop this code, pop either a link or this actual code in the description, depending on how it looks. So here, we actually want to create an agent. Actually, yeah, so I've actually already created this agent, so I'm just going to click on it and select it. But let's go in and have a look at the prompt and I can show you what I've done. So as ever, I've got my objective. The objective is to get the user's telephone number and confirm it. The caller ID is in information. You see I've put it in there. The fact that it's in curly braces means that it's going to replace that with the value of the caller ID variable, which in our case, when we hit run, is going to be that default number which I put in. Okay. You should ask the user if that's the correct number, check script. Okay, the script is, I have your number ending with the last 4 digits of the caller ID. Is that correct? If the number is not present in information, ask the user for the number. So if that's blank, it should ask us for a number. And then it should trigger the number confirmed exit scenario with the caller ID variable set appropriately. Build your first agent demo there. So there's my number confirmed exit condition. And down here, I've got my required variables. Caller ID. Okay, so that now gives us the means by which that we can confirm the number. Okay, and I can hook our I couldn't confirm a number up to this message down here, as we've done with the other ones, and I can link the number confirmed exit scenario with this, and I can say the user's number is caller ID. Okay, now again, you probably wouldn't have the bot, say their number back to them in this sort of situation, and certainly at the end of the call, but it just lets us know that it's going to work correctly. So let me click on run on that. So we're going right from the start. So if I go Humphreys, yes, that's me. Fish chips with gravy, please. Yes, that's it. Right, now we should get our number confirmation flow. Belt and braces on the confirmation there. Yes, that's correct. Excellent. Now I need to confirm your contact number. I have the number ending 1234, which is the default number we put in. So is that correct? Yes, it is. Okay, and what we should find now is that it'll output this message with the user's order, with what we ordered, the fish and chips. There it is, and there is the number, which is the default value we put in for caller ID. Now, once we hook this up to an actual telephone number, that should get us the actual number that we're calling from, and is a nice sort of little feature which I think should help the user at the other end. So on its own, we can't dial our Voiceflow bot. We can have it dial us, but obviously that's not what we want for this situation. So in order to give our bot a telephone number, we need to leverage a service called Twilio. Twilio is one of 2 platforms that Voiceflow supports. The other one is something starting with V, which I can't remember. We'll see it in a moment. Twilio is what I use, and it seems to work perfectly well. So if you don't have a Twilio account already, feel free to head over to twilio.com They don't sponsor this video in any way or fashion, and neither do Voiceflow or indeed anybody else. These are just tools that I find useful. So click on Start for free and sign up. And then eventually, once you jump through all their sign up hoops, there's not a lot, I don't want to make it sound onerous, you get to this dashboard. Now, at the moment, if we go to manage and we go to active numbers, I've already kind of gone through this process and I have a number here, which is in a city relatively close to me. If I want to add a new number, I can click up here, buy a number, and it will, it'll list them in the US first. So, if you're based in the US, you want a US number, then you just need to find the right sort of location, if you like, to bind your number to. Obviously, I would come in here and I would say United Kingdom, and I'm not going to go through with this, but if I click on buy on this one next to Glasgow, which is up in Scotland, of course, I could say next. I can say a business is going to use it. I can say next. And then it's going to ask me to, so as it says here, to comply with regulatory requirements, I have to give it a bundle, and I'll show you where I create the bundle. I just don't know if this will be required in other countries or not. It is in the UK because naturally they want to know who is responsible for a particular telephone number, so that, if you start making robocalls and, selling crypto scams or whatever, they can collar you basically. So this is what I do. I choose this, I choose the same thing again, and then I click on buy. That gets me that number. I'm not going to go through with that just purely because I already have a number which I can use. In terms of those bundles that we just selected, they're under here, under regulatory compliance and bundles. You can see there's the one that I used. It took me about 10 minutes to compile all the information they wanted, plus about another day for them to check through the information and come back and say, give it this status of approved. So your mileage may vary. You just need to check what the regulations are in your country. I'm sure Twilio, the platform itself, will help you in this regard. So just be aware that that's something you might have to do. I'm going to come back to here to active numbers. So this is the one we're going to add it to. We're going to add our bot to. Okay, I'm going to need that in a minute, so I'm just going to copy it. And if I come back into Voiceflow, head up to here to share. Now, at the moment, we're still in the development stages, so I'm going to keep this as development. I'm going to go customize. I'm going to go telephony, import number. I'm going to change that to +44. And then I'm going to paste in that number we just assigned ourselves in Twilio. Then here it wants the account SID and the auth token, and we can get that from the account dashboard. So I can copy this here, paste it in there, and I can copy this here and paste the auth token in there, and then I'm going to give it, I'm going to call it Chippy AI as a name. I'm going to import it. I'm going to say development for now, and then I'm going to say assign. So the number's been successfully assigned. So what should happen now is we should be able to call that number and we should get our bot. I've got to figure out how I'm going to demonstrate that within this video. So I'll be back in a tick. So now for the moment of truth. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you a recording which I made on my phone. I tried lots of ways of kind of getting this audio through onto the video. This was the only way I could do it. If you know how to, if you know a better way, please tell me. Pop something in the comments. Anyway, so what I'm going to play next is an audio recording which I did on my phone of me calling the bot that we've got here. Just part of the iPhone recording, it kind of announces that it's recording the call, and the AI agent takes that as me interrupting it. So she does pick that up and she goes, oh, okay, thank you for telling me that this is being recorded. Okay, but then she basically carries on. I don't think it quite does the beginning much justice though, because she does sound a bit robotic. Okay, normally she says, oh, welcome to the Chippy or whatever it is. So just keep that in mind. But for the rest of the flow, do you know what? She works perfectly, absolutely flawlessly, really pleased with it. So the next bit you hear is going to be that recording.
I understand that this call will be recorded. Could you please provide me with your first and last name so I can assist you properly today?
Yes, my name is Dylan Humphreys.
Thank you, Dylan. Just to confirm, I heard your name as Dylan Humphreys. Is that correct?
Yes.
Welcome, Dylan, to our Chippy. What would you like to order today? I can see our menu items for you. We have fish and chips, sausages, pies, burgers, kebabs, and various extras. What would you like to order today, Dylan?
I would like a small fish and chips, please.
Great choice, Dylan. I have a small fish and chips for you. That comes with sauce and is £3.80. What sauce would you like with your fish and chips? We have curry sauce available, or I can check what other sauces we have. We have curry sauce and gravy available. Which sauce would you prefer with your small fish and chips?
Gravy, please.
Perfect. So I have one small fish and chips with gravy for £3.80. Is there anything else you'd like to add to your order today, Dylan?
No, thank you.
Excellent. Let me confirm your order, Dylan. One small fish and chips with gravy, £3.80, is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Now I need to confirm your contact details for the order. I have here your number ending 5282. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Thank you for your order. Your order is the following. One small fish and chips with gravy. £3.80. Your order will be ready to collect in 30 minutes.
So we have a POC working, right? A proof of concept. Agents in workflow, they're super powerful. So the fact that we can give them a prompt, they can kind of loop around in any given scenario, more or less, until we get some kind of desired outcome, the exit scenarios. The fact that we can assign variables, we can assign values to variables as part of that exit scenario. That's how I very much think of pretty much any bot or any AI receptionist that I create, is a collection of Voiceflow agents that are all stuck together to achieve a common goal. Now, there's a lot of ways that we could expand this particular POC, including it, automatically, say, texting a confirmation back to the person who placed an order, logging the order in some kind of order management system if we're dealing with a particularly sophisticated chippy. But obviously, think beyond the chippy use case, right? If it can take an order for some food, it could take an order for pretty much anything else. So these sorts of use cases where previously it required a person to pick up a phone, say certain things, this is a template for those things, and it's going to be super popular as a product that you can supply, and it's going to save companies millions.
Thanks again for watching. If you found this content useful, please do click on like and subscribe. Also, if you have any ideas for different bots that I could make using the voice and AI technology, please do pop it in the comments or any other comment you might have. Until next time, stay curious.